And is cable TV ready?
Cable is on.
They're ready. Okay, well then let's get started. This is the Monday, May 10th, 2021 Sewer and Water Commissioners meeting. And as a result of the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting will be done remotely, and all votes will be taken by roll call. So with that, we can get started. First item is abatements. We have 2 water abatements and 1 sewer. Did anybody have any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the abatements.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Glenn?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Bill? Aye. All right, 4-0-0. Minutes. I didn't see any items that needed to be changed, amended, corrected. Did anyone else see anything?
I'll make a motion that we approve the April 12th minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Glenn?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
And John?
Aye.
And Bill? Aye. Okay. Bernie, Superintendent status report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I have some very good news, and I'd like to share that. I received this around 11 o'clock this morning, and I'll read a few paragraphs. This is from the Department of Environmental Protection. It's dated May 6th, 2021. It says, "Dear Mr. Marshall, Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection's drinking water program is pleased to extend its congratulations to the Walpole Water Department for its outstanding performance in 2020. Your system has achieved one of the top compliance scores in the medium to large community system category of the 2021 Public Water System Awards program. Mass Department of Environmental Protection realizes that it is no easy task to keep up with your ever-evolving federal and state drinking water regulations. Your compliance efforts have not gone unnoticed. Mass Department of Environmental Protection encourages you to continue this level of excellence in carrying out your work of protecting and supplying safe and fit water to our citizens. If you have any questions regarding this award program, please contact, and it gives a contact person. They will be having a celebratory Zuma, and it will be June 1st, 2021. And they also asked if we could send a picture of the staff, which we did have a picture taken on Monday. We are having an article placed in Mass Waterworks. It's called, I believe, In the Main or In the Pump. And they're doing a little synopsis of Walpole Water since its inception, and I believe it's 1889. So a lot of good things happening today and right now.
Well, congratulations to the staff. I just have a question, Bernie. Is there the top when we had a good score? What do you know offhand? What the items they score us on?
They do not. They do not. They don't send that out as well, Bill. That was just that's just a statement that they made.
All right. Well, congratulations to the team, anyways.
Congratulations.
For good looks and nice colors.
Well, I'd just like to add that this is the second year in a row that we've received this. So.
All right.
Okay. So just to give you an update, since we've last seen each other, the 2021 water management restrictions began on the 3rd, and we continue to monitor those. We have had a few people that needed to be reminded, and the whole entire staff is out and about, and we'll continue to remind people, give them warnings, etc., as we see fit. Minebrook 3A is being cleaned right now after a failure. It was found that that one of the seals, and there was a hole actually in the column of the well. So the pumps being overhauled, it was actually was scheduled to be done. And unfortunately, when we went to take a PFAS sample for that well, it was determined that that well could not pump. And then we called our well person, DLMR. They came out, and lo and behold, they found that there was a gasket missing and a hole in the column. So they're in the process of reconditioning the well as we speak. The SCADA system upgrade is finally, I'd say 90 to 95% done. We're still finding a few little bugs here and there that are addressed probably bi-weekly by the actual SCADA contractor that comes in. But everything seems to be going very well at this point. The grant program is going well as well. Unfortunately, on rainy days and cloudy days, it's not very easy to gather information because of the satellites and such, but we are continuing in that process. The Plain Street water main extension, roughly 700 feet that we installed, has been pressure tested, chlorinated, and is back in service. Well, I'm sorry, not back in service, it is placed in service. The distribution crew is continuing to keep in front of the contractor with the work on the Route 1A State project. The Delaney plant rehabilitation that we've all been anticipating for the filters, that will begin with our crew coming in. We're going to take 2 filters out of service, and we're going to go in and vacuum out all the material inside the filter. And I believe the paint contractor is scheduled to be in on Monday. The generator project, the bid has been awarded, and actually, I'm sorry, it hasn't been awarded. It will be requested to be awarded by the select board tomorrow night. PFAS samples were taken. It was determined that we were below the maximum contaminant level, but we still we were asked to do a confirmatory sampling. So we have sampled every well except for, as I said, Minebrook 3A that was out of service. Those tests were done last Tuesday, and we're awaiting the results for those tests as well. The drying lagoons at the Willis plant, they will be cleaned and retrofitted within the next 3 to 4 weeks. They still have not dried out enough for us to go in and take the sludge and such out. But I have talked to the vendor. We've measured that out, and the curtain will be ordered, I believe, either by mid or late week this week. So we'll be in good shape for when that lagoon's clean. We'll be able to place it on the curtain, and we should be well on our way. We are in compliance right now, and we shall stay in compliance until such time as we have it engineered and looked at to see what we want to do permanently. And that's what we're actually working on as well. I'll have the engineer.
Hey, Bernie.
Yes, sir.
The topic before that, when
Yes,
you
sir.
said the testing, it's you would not see that again? What type of testing?
It's PFAS, John. It's actually it's the chemical that they associate with a lot of plastics.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's going on in Woburn right now, right? They can't drink the water.
I'm sorry.
That was a show on one of the TV channels about PFAS, and they were given just an overview. Is that what you're talking about, John?
Yeah, well, he said that we were below the maximum amount, which doesn't make me feel too comfortable as a test result. And I'm just wondering, what about that? I mean, they're not letting the people drink the water when they have a high rating.
We don't have a high rating. That's why we're allowed to continue, but they still want us to do confirmatory samples, John. So in other words, we did both plants having all the raw water coming into the plant, and it was found that we do have PFAS in the water, but it's not of a concern at this time that for public notification, nor is it tipping the scales in the maximum contaminant level. But however, they want us to sample each individual well now and to see where the most concentration of the PFAS lies. So we're in the process of doing that as we speak.
So, as I understand it, we're what gets into the distribution system is acceptable being underneath the maximum contaminant level.
Yes, sir.
However, what we could find out when we test each well, that it is double the standard in one well and none in another, and that's where it averaged out, in which case we do then have a potential problem, is that we might have to shut a well down or do something if it turns out that a particular well is over the limits.
That's a distinct possibility, but as I said, right now we don't have the backup. We don't have the tests back to indicate that would be an issue as we speak right now, Bill.
Mr. Chairman, can you just remind me, is this one of our unregulated substances, or is this the first year that we're testing for PFAS?
It's the first year, sir.
The first year? Okay.
Bernie,
Go ahead, Matt.
the treatment plants we have, the green sand plant, can that get rid of some of the PFAS?
The green sand, Patrick, will get rid of some of the PFAS. However, it's not known exactly what concentration will. That's why we're actually taking individual samples of the wells to see what we had at the entry point to the system and from the actual source of the system. So,
did you find any PFAS in the other treatment plant?
yes, but very, 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 very low numbers.
I think the numbers are like
What do we mean
15.
by low numbers? That's what I'm concerned about. I mean, I think you have to get us some hard data as to where we're on the scale of risk.
I can
The
absolutely do
residents.
that.
I don't want to just say, well, it's not quite there. It's not quite bad enough to be concerned about. I mean,
I didn't
The
say it
numbers,
was.
John, the numbers that I think that I saw were, it was 3 point something at the Minebrook wells, which is in the
Yep.
limits 20, and it was 15 point something coming out of the Delaney plant.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Bill.
and what is 20? What does that mean? Poison or death or what?
20 is the action limit that we have to notify the public.
That's 20 parts per trillion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll have to find out when we get the actual numbers for well by well as to if there's more we have to do. Back on
Let's
the
get a report
plants-
back on that the next meeting or two, okay? Just
Yeah.
keep
As soon as I get the rest of the results, John, I'll be more than happy to give those reports to you.
Mary, could you just put that on as an item for our next meeting?
I will do that now, Bill.
Okay, and just to back up, Bernie,
Sure.
Plain Street, are the homes who are on the old line, the old spaghetti line, were they connected to the new line, or are they?
They have not been connected, Bill, but the taps out on the street are ready for hookup.
Yeah, I did see that. I was just wondering if they were now on the new line or whether they were still.
Not
Okay.
as of yet.
Anything else?
I just have one other comment that I'd like to make. We've been currently working on replacing the meters in the MTUs in the system as more customers are becoming more softening to the pandemic and such. We're trying to knock out all the issues that we have out in the system with the MTUs and the meters. So I think we're doing a very Mark Aptowitz, who's the newest member of the distribution crew, has done a fantastic job. And Mary's done a great job, and that staff has done a great job in setting up appointments and getting us into these places where we weren't getting readings and meters were dead and et cetera. So we're starting to get at it.
Okay. Anybody have anything they want from Bernie? Okay. If not, we can go to comment requests. We have 2 from the planning board, and they deal with the same location. And this is an extension of Marion Street, which is down south of the center of town, off of Main Street. There's William Street that goes off, and Marion is a small street off of that. And we've got 2 requests, and I think one of it is to subdivide the property that's on Main Street, which then makes a lot that they can then build on. And the second one is what's actually being proposed, and it actually looks to me like one single family home. I did ride down the street. It just is a dead end. Now it'll be a dead end with a circle on there.
I did talk to the engineer, Bill. We did take a look at these, and basically what it is the house that they want to build out in the back is going to come off of that street, and it's just one service, and they will not be on sewer. They'll be on septic.
Okay.
And what size line will be running down?
They're requesting a 1 inch.
Now, when I looked at the water distribution map, it looked like that William Street might be a 6 inch and that Marion might be a 4 inch line.
I know that there's a fire hydrant there, Bill. So I'm not sure if that's a 4 inch or not. I did not do that.
How far is the fire hydrant from the new house?
I don't have that. It's if you have a copy of that plan, Patrick, it should be right there. It should be denoted right there.
Very short street now, Pat.
It is very short.
Yeah.
You know, could I make a comment?
Sure,
You're gonna
John
have a 1 inch.
Just in general, I think the impervious area of the commercial lot must be right to the limit. I don't know if we were, when they subdivided after they build something, the question is, did they allow enough land to still meet the ratios for the first thing that they built? That usually is something the zoning board would do a calculation for, Bernie, not you necessarily.
Correct.
But it just looks odd to me that there's no impervious, pervious area on the commercial lot. And I would have thought there would have been a ratio like maybe 60% or 65% or something like that. And part of the vacant land would be required.
From what I was told, John, it was an existing building, and what they did was they had to subdivide it, and they're just making the cul-de-sac, and they do have provisions. If you look for the drainage in the back, if you're looking at the plan, it shows that they have the drainage and so on and so forth. That's supposed to take. I believe that's what's going to address your issue.
I think that what John's mentioning is, if you look at the lot as it is right now, the front part is a parking lot, and then you have a large building, and then behind it you have open land, which if you just sort of ballparking, you'd say, 50% of the lot is impervious and 50% is open.
Right.
And that once you've divided it into two lots, does the lot that's on where the building, which has a lot of pavement in the building, does that meet whatever the zoning requirement is for a business?
I don't have that. I'm sorry. I can't.
I think that's what you were getting
it's
at,
just an observation.
Yeah.
Is this, I mean, the other thing is this guaranteed to be one lot, or is this just the beginning of something else?
It's a very small area that, and I think I saw it was like 17,000 square foot, and it's Residence B or something close. I think there's only room for one, John.
Exactly. That's what I was told by Carl Baldoff, the engineer. That's what the plan is.
John, you cut out there. Do we have any water or the only concern, and I guess it's not a concern, it's just if you look at the sewer master plan, this area, William Street and Marion, are one of the streets that are in the highest rated in need of sewer.
Okay.
But doesn't preclude them from being on all the other houses in that area are on a septic system anyways.
Well, that's up to the Board of Health, but again, they would have to,
Yeah.
Well, I guess the point of the question there is, are we planning on using Marion Lane as one of the extension, proposals? And if we are, we should, let the developer know this. Is this being built this year? It's it'd be nice if they could hold off, or if we could make a decision sooner than later. Is that something that we're considering?
Well,
Although we would
it's
wanna
something that
consider?
I'm looking at is of looking at the sewer master plan to see what would be the impact of doing some of it, and that would be, of course, a decision of the board, and starts to get involved because you're trying to determine, do the people that we would be proposing doing the sewer, do they want it? Will they connect? And then what's the impact on the sewer rate, and what would be the betterments and that sort of thing? So
Are we just talking about Marion Street, or is it more than that?
it's
coming
actually
from 1A?
Williams and Merriam are on the list, and they're proposing, of course, to add one more house and make a
Well,
mention. We could certainly
the
mention.
thing about that, Glenn, is that no people with those, with,
Don, we lost you again.
Well, I do want to hear what John has to say
Yeah.
when he comes back, obviously. But
They're small lots, and it looks, just based on the size of the.
not favorable. And the regulations for septics have changed to the, and this is the one I brought up to Bernie the other day about up on Ridge Road and so forth in High Street in North Walpole, where the soils are so bad and the regulations have changed. If people go to maintain their system now, or it doesn't work properly, they're gonna have to put a huge septic up out of the ground, basically. No, I mean, those are the neighborhoods we wanna go to. A street like here, if people wouldn't wanna sign up for it because they prefer not paying the sewer,
I guess
and conservation would argue, they prefer that anyway. They don't,
Sure.
they don't want everybody in the sewer.
I understand what you're getting at there. Just one more quick point, if I
Okay,
can.
Glenn?
Sorry, it's just and just a quick point is, as I guess once they build this house and they put a new septic in, then we lose this option is for the next 30 years, right? They're not going to want to connect if we do go down Marion Street. So now would be the time to. I know it's just one house, but now would be the time to either make a decision one way or the other, or at least consider it. So.
I think we can certainly let the planning board make our comments that it is, we are giving some thought about extending the sewer system, and this was one of the streets that was a top priority, but it's not something that, we could say, yes, it'll be there tomorrow. It might not be there for, at the earliest, a year or two. The other thing that we want to ask or comment on is any problems with the water with just connecting one house.
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Patrick,
I assume this is a Form A, is that correct?
that I don't know.
Okay, I'm assuming that. And are there other lots that are developable on Marion Street?
No, there isn't.
That's it, there's only one lot that can go in?
Right. Right now, it's part of a lot that's abuts on Main Street, and when they subdivide it, it would be a landlocked lot that does have access on Marion Street, and that's why they're looking to extend Marion Street.
Okay, but on the sides of this, on any side of this, new residence, is there any other lots? In other words,
When I looked at it, Pat, I did not see any other lot that you could connect.
what I'm driving at is, I would not like to see spaghetti lines running down the street.
It's not gonna be a spaghetti line, Patrick.
No, I'm talking about more than one. I know the
Okay.
1 inch for one house is fine, but
Okay.
I'm thinking if there's more houses, we'd have to put more 1 inch lines in. And
Right.
Now, it's all commercial land in back of that.
so they
It's
could,
all-
they
It's
could
already built out.
Is that correct?
John, we got your two entries on the screen here. And so sometimes when you speak, we get feedback.
Well, I'm known for double talk.
Mark that in the minutes, Mary.
The thing, Patrick, the thing about this lot is, we don't really need to even, I mean, the water's line is one thing, but this guy owns both pieces. He can connect to Main Street to get any utility he wants right through his own easement on his own property. He doesn't have to do anything. And we don't have to build anything for him, really. And and I would my recommendation, planning board, would just have him deed restrict the parcel to one home as he's proposing. And at the end of that,
Yep.
Bernie, do you have any concerns or comments that we should make to the planning board on this?
No, I don't, Bill. But what I was going to suggest after we had our appointments was that we try to schedule something that the board can sit down and take a look at the proposed draft sewer expansion, and start to make a list of wants and desires and so on and so forth. But Mr. Hassenjäger did ask, he contacted me last week, and I did say that you have had a draft in front of you for quite some time, and I think it might be the time that we should take a look at and trying to schedule something, a session that we can all sit down and throw some ideas out and take a good look at this, and then we can go forward.
I think that's a good idea, Bernie. I've been starting to look at it and seeing, what has changed since the draft was created, and coming up with some, what's the impact on, dollar amounts in terms of impact on sediments as well as the sewer rate itself.
If I can make one more statement though, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, we're still under the COVID regulations and rules. And so at this time, we're not able to meet in that capacity to be able to perform that. So it's, unfortunately, until such time as we're told and allowed that we can meet together, shoulder to shoulder as such. I just wanted to throw it out there to say that indeed it's something that we all should be looking at, but we can't all get together on it at this point.
well, we'll have to meet at Fenway Park.
Yes, okay,
We can do it there.
yep. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that, do we wish to make any comment to the planning board? Either on the subdividing the lot, I don't think that that's a sewer and water issue.
Right.
And I guess from the fact that they plan on doing a septic system, other than mentioning that they are attached to a street that is on the highest priority, but that we're not in a position to act on it, anything right immediately, and that there is no issue from us and the water department with connecting to the water line on Marion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I go along with that.
Just a comment that I have is that I'm not happy with this on-site septic system or sewer system there, a private one. I would like to see them attached to the municipal sewer.
All right. Their answer would be...
Since we're paying anyway for it.
Yes. Okay. I'll make a motion that we have, that the commission has no comment as far as subdividing the existing lot, and that on the proposed single-family resident, we have no concerns with water or, at this time, them building a septic system. However, the applicant should be aware that that street is one of the highest priorities to extend the sewer system when the commission gets around to doing that.
One last thing, Commissioner.
Yes.
The water line that's going to this residence, is it on its own property all the way from the main?
As far as I can see, yes.
Yeah, because that's very important. You know what happens if...
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so that's...
It's not crossing any other property, Patrick. It's coming right off of the, it's gonna come right off of the water main and into their property and not across anyone else's property.
Okay, so they have complete control over that line.
Right.
Will
All
the
right.
city or the town own that, or will the private people own that?
We
The
own
water
street to
line in the
curb.
street.
We own street to curb stop, Patrick.
Said that again?
We own street to curb stop, Patrick, to property line.
Even on a 1-inch line?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay.
I'll second your motion, Bill.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Glenn,
Aye.
Patrick,
Abstain.
and John,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. So we got 301, Mary. That takes care of comment requests 1 and 2. Okay, the next one is correspondence 1, and this is regarding Peach
Mr.
Street.
Chairman,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just noticed that we have a 2:20 appointment. It's up to you, of course, if you want to take that in order.
all right.
You're the chairman.
We can quickly, Mr. Orlando, you mind waiting for 2 more minutes?
Not at all.
Okay, let's get rid of the correspondence here. First one is from the town engineer regarding Peach Street. We've already commented on it. Does the board want to make any additional comments?
No.
Okay, let's move on. The second one is regarding the emergency generators for, that we received 5 bids. And Director of the DPW, Rick Mattson, is recommending one of them. And it sounds like the selectmen are going to be in a position tomorrow to award the contract. Do we have any objection with going with Rick's recommended award to Fall River Electrical Associates in the amount of $213,359?
No objection.
Okay, entertain a motion to recommend awarding the standby generator contract to Fall River Electrical Associates.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor. Glenn?
Aye.
Pat?
I'm not voting because I don't think that the selectmen should be doing the contracts for the Sewer and Water Commission.
Okay, John Hassenegger?
Aye.
And Bill, aye. So I think that's a 3-0-0, Pat, or are you abstaining?
Well, I wanted to have that statement in there that I think that it should be a sewer and water contract, not particularly a selectman
Okay,
contract.
all right,
You were right, Mr. Chairman. It did not take very long.
okay. Let's get to our appointments. First one, Kevin Orlando, All Season Septic, to discuss the septic facility hours. You're aware, I believe, Mr. Orlando, that the zoning board had, when they allowed the facility to be built, did have some restrictions that are related to the school. And I have it here as to basically when the students would be passing by the plant. What were you looking for?
We're looking to extend the hours, sir. Right now, we're running a capacity of maybe 3.5 hours a day for this facility. Between, starting the facility at 8:30, we have to call him. He doesn't answer his phone until 8:30. We have to wait a half hour, and that's what we had agreed on. So now you're looking at 9 o'clock. That gives us time to go out and do more service calls, but then he closes at 11:35 for lunch. He doesn't answer his phone until 12:30, which I understand he does have a lunch break. But that brings us to 1 o'clock. So at this point, the plant is only open 3.5 hours a day. I'm speaking for other companies as Pogursky Corporation, Atkinson, and A-Best Enterprise. I'm speaking on their behalf. The amount of revenue weekly right now for those companies and myself is $9,025 a week. If you break that down monthly, it's $36,000 a month. Break it down yearly, it's $433,000 a year. I want to present this to the board, and the reason why I'm doing this is it's actually hurting all of our businesses. And we're trying to work with the town and trying to do what we can in our part to make everybody safe. And, the thing is, we're kind of at a standstill here.
So what, other than the general asking that we make it larger, I assume you don't want it open 24 hours a day. So I'm just asking, what are you asking for?
We're just looking for more hours, sir. That's all we're looking for. Something to, whether a school's open or not, there are commercial vehicles to get on that road. My drivers are very conscientious, as well as I speak for the other gentlemen too. We've seen buses go out of there at great rates of speed, dump trucks going down that road. The thing is, the children are on the sidewalk. They're not actually physically on the facility side. So the thing is, we use care and caution. I'd like the board to try to change that to extend the hours. This way we, again, as a company, make money. The thing is, exhaust all of our options from the town of Walpole, we're gonna have to go to other facilities. That means the town is losing, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but the town is losing $400,000 a year in revenue. I know that they pay the MWRA, certain amounts of money for the septic. But again, we've been using this facility. I've been in business 27 years, and we've never had a complaint or a problem with exiting and entering the facility.
All right, so I guess, Bernie, is there, I mean, if we said, all right, and I'm not sure how we would do this, if we gave you an extra half hour, would you say that's not worth it? I need,
No, that'd be,
all right, that's what I'm trying to get, is you need,
Okay.
do you need 1 hour? Do you need 2? You need it open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? What are you asking for?
I'm looking for, I mean, I know Al does the monitor, the site monitor, Al Pables, does other jobs as well. So I understand his factor in all this. The thing is we have companies to run, obviously. I'd like to see at least another 5 hours, not another 5 hours. I'd like to see it 5 hours a day, at least, and this would help us out a lot and would bring more revenue to the town. Because we're gonna be using the facility and, using it more often, so that the funding goes up.
Okay, Bernie?
I know that the facility is open at 8:30. Now, there are some days and some times that Al can't be there at 8:30, but we do have other operators that are eligible to fill in for Al when he's not available.
Bernie,
So,
I don't mean to interrupt you, and I'm sorry.
you are interrupting me, so I'd like to finish, please.
Just asking a question.
Yeah, let Bernie finish, then we'll get back to you, Kevin.
So as far as the 8:30 in the morning is, I mean, we do have sewer rounds that Al has to perform, and like I said, he tries to do that. We start at 7 o'clock in the morning, so Al tries to take care of his sewer pump stations before he gets to the facility. I'm sure that the facility for most days out of the year is open at 8:30. And as far as lunch is concerned, they're union, so I have to provide them with lunch. And also, it's a septic facility with no cafeteria. All it has is a bathroom, and it's not the very. I wouldn't ask the gentleman to stay at that area to clean up, wash up, and go to lunch. I'm sorry. So I don't think that there's been any exploitation in the hours. And I think that, we're conforming to the hourly schedule. I can't see that it being open any time after the hours, because then I'd have to pay Al overtime, and I don't have overtime to run that facility in my budget.
Okay.
But we make every, Mr. Chairman, we make every arrangement in every situation possible to have someone at that facility for the times and that it's open. That's my point.
All right. Patrick, I know you,
Yes, I do. I'm going to move that we keep the facility open 5 hours a day and leave it up to the administration, town administration, to figure out how to do that. Because if they're making $400,000 a year, then maybe we need to pay a little overtime. Maybe we need to do something. There's got to be a way. Maybe there should be I'm not going to let them figure it out. But I can figure it out, I think, and so they should be able to do the same thing.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's quite a bit of money, and maybe we'll even make more if we have it open longer. So that's my motion. That's a motion, Mr. Chairman, 5 hours, 5 days a week.
ask the town administration to investigate how to do
They can-
an extra 5 hours.
They can make that happen. That's what they do. That's their job.
Can I interrupt?
Wait,
Bernie,
wait,
I apologize for interrupting. As long as we're clear on other people can facilitate that facility, now it's Al's job. I just don't want to take work away from him in that part of it, but I don't, again, if we can call Carla or if we can call one of the plant people, then that's fine. If we can get that, that would be fantastic. We can run that 5 hours if someone else, not doing anything. I understand the employees are busy.
All right, Kevin, let's let the Bernie and his folks come up with a way. If it, one, is it possible, and then come up with options as to how to do it. If they say yes, it is possible.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'll second Patrick's motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes.
John?
I don't understand the motion. You said you're gonna check with town administration. It's not up to town administration. It's up to this commission.
Well, John,
If we tell Bernie to do, we want certain hours, it's up to Bernie to do the hours for us. I
That's
don't
right.
care what the administration thinks or what, if it's Willie or Jackie or Petey or whoever it is, I don't care.
the
I
thing
think
is,
that-
Not, I'm not gonna name who has to be there and what his lunch preferences are, whatever.
no, we're not
That's,
doing that, John. That's why I said we make policy. The Sewer and Water Commission makes policy. So my motion is that the septic facility be open 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now, how that is being done is completely up to town administration. Because
I don't agree.
That's,
It is not up to town administration to tell us what hours to run our septic facility.
John, what Patrick is saying, he's just saying he wants 5 hours a day. And it's not, he hasn't said that he wants Carla to be called or Al to be this. He's just saying, you figure it out, we want 5 hours. That's what,
Who's figuring it out? I'm figuring it out right here. I'm gonna tell you what they are. It's gonna open at 8:30 and they're gonna do 5 hours during the day and up until 4 o'clock. And they're gonna figure out where they're gonna take their lunch, period.
I think that's covered by what
Geniuses
Pat,
from town hall telling the commission what this is. We're gonna facilitate the businesses in town. This man doesn't want to go to the septic facility 11 o'clock at night. He wants to go somewhere between 8 and 4 during the business day.
Unfortunately, we're not open until 4 o'clock.
All
Our
right.
day ends at
we do
3:30.
have a motion made by Patrick. I believe, Glenn, you seconded it.
I did, yes.
All right. And John, you've had discussion on it. Is there any other discussion before we take a vote on it?
No, I just think to John Hassenegger's point, we can always come back and revisit this if it needs to be revisited. But this is the decision today, that it's going to be open for 5 hours. And if that needs to be revisited, we can do that at a later time.
Okay.
But that's not the motion.
I
Patrick,
didn't change the motion.
Administration
I was making a
set
comment.
the hours.
No, I don't, Patrick, did
Set the
you,
hours right now.
Patrick, in your motion indicate what hours?
no.
No. So, John, if they can come up with, what it's gonna be is, they will come and say, yes, you want 5 hours, here's how I'm doing it. And that's the end of it in terms of us. We asked for 5, they gave us 5. Or they can come back and say, we can't do it within this budget, or I'm gonna have, it's a balloon. I squeeze here, it bulges out there. And we'll decide, okay, that's acceptable or it's not. The goal is to get it to 5 hours.
That is so crazy. I don't even know how to respond to that, Bill.
All right, well,
You're just,
would you vote no on it?
I guess I can vote no, but Patrick, I'm disappointed in you because you're the one, if you have the authority as a water commissioner or a sewer commissioner, use it now. Don't let somebody else make some cockamamie decision. Let's tell them what it is. You know what the business day is. You heard the gentleman, Mr. Orlando. He wants service between 8:30 and the end of the day, which I presume is 4 o'clock or 4:30.
3:30, John. 3:30, John.
Okay,
Well, he wants service between 8:30 and 3:30.
I think we've,
Is that your motion, Patrick?
I don't think it was his motion.
My motion is as it stands.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Glenn,
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
John?
No.
I'm going to vote yes, but with the understanding, my vote is that we don't allocate who does what and when and whatever. But I'm asking that they see what can be done, and we'll go from there. So I'm voting aye. So that is a 3-1-0 vote, Mary. Okay, we'll be back to you, Kevin, with more information.
Okay, so I can leave now, yes?
Or
Thank
you can
Kevin.
stay.
No,
After causing all that trouble.
It's getting heated here and I gotta take my wife to lunch, so. Gentlemen,
Okay,
thank you. Mary, thank you again for your time. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
okay.
All right, bye-bye.
And, Mr. Travis?
Good afternoon.
All right, sorry for taking extra time there. There was someone else who was on who disappeared. Did they?
Yeah, that would have been Andrew Boyd.
Oh, here he is.
Good afternoon. Can you still see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you moved from the left side to the right side all of a sudden. I lost track of you.
And just to introduce myself, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Boyd. I am General Counsel here with Mass Installation. I've been working with Mark now for about a little bit over a year.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so we're here today. Obviously, you put me on the schedule. I appreciate everyone's time to discuss the water meter infrastructure. I know the system that you have in, it's now Mueller, has been, having consistent failures throughout the years, and that, it's a legacy system that is in need of an upgrade. When I spoke with Rick and Bernie a little bit before this, I had sent some information. I don't know if everybody received that information regarding the existing cellular network that we would be able to leverage within the town, so that you have an economical and scalable solution. What I'd like to do, if we can make this work, is just share my screen real quick.
Okay.
And just give you a quick software demo so you can see how actual other utilities that are utilizing the software within Massachusetts, what the data is, and show you some of the benefits, and talk about how we could deploy it, pilot it, as well as interface into the existing municipal billing system without interrupting the entire billing system as it is.
Okay, Jerry, you're the host. Could you give Mark, I believe if you make him
Mary.
a host.
I do have the share screen turned on, so Mark, you should be all set.
All right, here we go.
All right, we can see.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, what we're looking at, this is Walpole. These are a few that are actually on the system now. What I'd like to do, if I may, is let's just go back to the beginning here. Can everyone see that all right?
I can see it fine.
Excellent. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is this is called the WaterScope Water System Management Portal. Here it allows you to view all of your water meters and water meter reads through a cellular-based mechanism. We utilize the Verizon network. So right now, as I'm sure most of you are aware, the existing system that you have operates off of radio frequency. So you have a long-range fixed network system that has its own licensed FCC channel that you guys pay for, in addition to system maintenance agreements, software maintenance agreements, and additional reoccurring costs that the town has to continue to bear, all the while having to maintain the system, do final reads. If something dies from a operation standpoint, there is no low battery warning. There is no parameter in place that allows the water department to say, hey, MTU so-and-so only has 6 months of life left, and put a maintenance plan in place. With this system that we offer through Metron Farnier, that's located out of Boulder, Colorado, we have the ability to leverage the existing cellular network so that there is no additional infrastructure cost. There is no FCC license needed. We don't need to erect repeaters. There is no long-term software maintenance agreements. There is no software license maintenance fees, any of that. The upfront cost of the system covers the life of the system with a 20-year battery warranty, 10 and 10, as well as all of the either 5-minute data resolution that comes standard, or if the town wanted, 1-minute data resolution, which I can show you on another town if we have time, so that you can see it gives you complete control over your water system. I actually, as a resident of the town, I know that as of May 3rd, we went back to the water ban, And one of the things that the system will allow the town to do is multiple different things, but as it pertains to irrigation, where you have odd and even watering bands, it allows us to set a blanket alert so that as consumers and residents and businesses are put onto the system, if they are an odd or even customer, we can have it so if they are watering on a non-sanctioned watering day, it can automatically send them either a text alert or an email alert notifying them that they are currently watering when they shouldn't be watering. The town of Bridgewater that has implemented this system town-wide a couple of years ago is actually in the process right now of setting up different tailored messages. So, for example, if someone were to be caught the first time, it would send them either an automated email or text alert that would let them know as a friendly reminder, this is the first time that you're watering on a non-watering day. Your days to water are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Please click on the link to review the website below for all that information. And then the second one would be, this is the second time we've caught you watering on a non-watering day. You could be subject to fines, penalty, or interruption to your water service. And then 3 strikes and you're out is kind of the system that they're starting to put together. But before I get ahead of myself, this is an overall look at the system. These are the few accounts that we have on the system in town right now. This is the general overall portal. So what we're seeing with all these line graphs here is your total usage for these mentioned 14 accounts. So currently, as it stands right now, these 14 accounts have pumped 197,000 gallons through the week. If you had this system wide, one of the nice things is we can break this out. So where it says select, we have 2 selected. Currently right now, we just have all installed, all accounts, and then VN pilot and ROI. We can set this up in groups. So for example, if you have Royal Crest, all the Royal Crest meters can be in there. If we have all the commercial meters, we can break it out for all the commercial accounts. If you have all your residentials, we do it by billing book. However, the subgroups want to be customized, you have complete control so that as it pertains to the analytical piece, you can see the information however the utility feels necessary. As you scroll down, this gives you all your quick hits. Again, this is more of a macro view of the system. So the good news is as of right now, you have no leak conditions. But if you did, it would pull them up right here. The high usage, high meter flow, this lets us know we currently have 3 that are high water users. Alert condition for 0 usage. If you have unauthorized use, that's another thing. So if you have a building that is vacant or a property that is vacant and water shouldn't be used, we have the ability to set that so that if water is used during a time where it shouldn't be used, it will notify the utility, but also on the consumer end, if somebody is going away for, like we just had April vacation, through the app that is included with the initial cost of the system, there is no, Aquahawk is currently an offering through Mueller for residents to log on, and that's a monthly fee and an annual fee. This is included, so you can download it either at the Google Play or Apple App Store, where they can go on, and if they're going on vacation, they can say, hey, I'm gone from the 5th to the 10th, no water should be used at my property. If water is used at their property, it will send them a text alert letting them know that water has been used when it should not have been used. At the same degree, if we go in to the priority dashboard, these were ones that I went in and hand selected before the meeting because I felt it gave us kind of the best overall look at what I felt that the town would be interested in seeing and targeting. But Bernie, actually, this one I selected specifically. If you remember back to the new ball fields that were, when
Yes.
you needed that irrigation meter.
Yes.
And there was a little back and forth with the engineer regarding putting in that either a 3-inch Neptune or this.
Yes.
And if you recall, we discussed that the low flow with the Metron meter, it would pick up any leaks that were found on the system, or anything that was below 5 gallons a minute. What I'm happy to report is it has done just that. So when we look at this, this is the consumption history report. If you look at the top, this is the same tile that residents or business owners within the town would have access to if if you guys felt that it was necessary or wanted to give them that permission. They can't manipulate the data, but what they can do is they can see the data. So now you have complete transparency. Up here, it gives you the LCD read. And the way the system works is where it is, you utilize the existing cellular network. During off-peak hours, between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m., it calls in all the reads into the Microsoft Azure cloud, at which point all of the analytics, any firmware updates or updates to the system are then taken back into the register at the endpoint themselves. And then, the next day, all of your analytical reports and all your reads and graphs are presented here. And with that being said, it's showing right now that the Route 1A athletic fields, they called in this morning at 1:44 a.m. with an LCD read of 135205. Then it gives you your billing read, in addition to what it's used over a 24-hour period. So currently, the ball fields have used 4,939 cubic feet of water. It gives us our monthly, what we've used for the month, as well as what the daily average is. So yesterday was a little higher than the daily average. And when we scroll down, we look at this convoluted line graph. What this is this is all of the water usage in 5-minute data intervals. So when this calls in, all these reads are synced with the atomic clock. And as we roll over any one of these data points, we can see exactly what the flow rate was and the data time that the flow rate occurred. Where this is useful, especially, is when you have any anomalies in the system, or, as I'm sure Mary or Bernie could speak to, is when someone goes in for an abatement, I didn't use that water. Well, you didn't. Well, if we go back to the graph and we look on May 3rd and 4th, it looks like you were using, consistently about 60 gallons a minute. Oh, you know something? I was opening up the pool this week and I didn't realize it. So the graph doesn't lie, so to speak. When you can go back to a specific date and time and look at that flow rate, you can explain and tell the story and end any disputes before they become disputes, because now you've become proactive instead of reactive, because they would have access to this same data. When we clean this up, right now we're looking at a weekly period. If we just zoom in and look at just last night, it makes that 5-minute line graph a lot cleaner to see. So as it pertains to the irrigation at the ball fields, it's at 0, which is what we want to see. But then at around 8:10, it picks up, kicks on, and it's at about 60 gallons a minute. It starts to go through its cycle, and it breaks down to 14 gallons a minute, and then back up to around 58. One of the interesting things that you'll see, and it's always typical with factories, so if you take a Hollingsworth and Vose, Siemens, or anything, a large irrigation scale like this, if you look down and we look at the graph, you can see they're almost mirror patterns of each other, which is exactly what you want to see on accounts like this, because you have them set for certain zones, certain times, and that's how you're going to do your irrigation. When it goes to the residential side, which we'll flip and we can look at momentarily, that's where you start to be able to pinpoint leaks, and explain any other anomalies that may happen in the day-to-day with the system. The other nice feature that's in here is there's a thermal coupler that is built into the register. So it lets you know what the high and low is at the water meter itself each day. So if it does drop down below 36 degrees, it sends out a potential freeze warning. So for a resident, they would be, if someone, say one of their kids left the bulkhead open, and if they signed up for these alerts, they would be able to know instantaneously, once that hits 36 degrees, it would send them a potential freeze warning. The reason it's 36 and not 32 is because now we're cleaning up at 32 degrees. At 36, we still have a little time before you have to get the buckets and the mops. And so that's the whole purpose of the system, is to have complete control, but give complete transparency between the town and the resident. Is it a lot of data? Absolutely. Do you have to look at it every day? No. but when you do need it or there is an event, you can go back to that date and time and explain it right away. For example, years ago, when Rick agreed to pilot this system just for Siemens, because we kept having an issue with that meter that was in the vault, they were telling us that they never used more than 180 gallons a minute. Both Brian Boudreau, our project manager, who's been with us for over 30 years, and myself went out there. We spoke with their engineers. They wouldn't let us in the building, to do an audit. They said, nope, this is what we use. Here it is. Well, we put this register on and found out instantaneously overnight that not only were they using more than 180 gallons a minute, but it was up over 500, 300, 280 gallons a minute constantly. And in looking at it, it's dropped with COVID, and actually we have to get in there because something did happen with the antenna. The register is still registering. However, they're not, the 5-minute reads did stop calling in. So we're actually having an appointment to go up there and replace that antenna so we can get that data back online. But that's the whole purpose, is it gives you complete control so that when there is an issue or there is something that needs explanation, you have it. Also, you have the maps. Something? Allow me, if I may. I apologize, gentlemen. What I want to do is I want to show you a residential account so you have a better understanding of what I mean by the power of 1-minute data. What we've done is, what Metron has done is, when the system was first released in 2011, 5-minute data intervals has been the standard data resolution for the system. But we just released about 6 months ago now, after intensive beta testing, 1 minute. What that allows us to do is, in conjunction with IBM Watson, we have been able to now pinpoint how usage at each home is actually occurring. And what I mean by that is, we can tell you how much water went towards, a toilet, how much went towards the kitchen, how much, in terms as it pertains to irrigation, as I was saying before, without being pre-programmed, it will let you know how many zones, irrigation zones a property has, and how long each zone is on. And it does all of this without any pre-programming, strictly through the 1-minute data resolution. So, if I may, this is actually a resident in Watertown. Again, as you'll notice, there is no real difference in the 5-minute to 1 minute, except as it is displayed, with the exception that now we have multiple different colors on this line graph, and that is because as you roll over each colored line, let it freeze up. Oh, shower, yeah. So 5/9 at 8:15 a.m. A gallon, 1.36 gallons per minute. We're going towards the shower, and we have a 0.03 gallon per minute leak. That does not stop. What's important to take away from this is that when Verizon was first selecting a meter vendor, okay, they didn't go by, they went by accuracy of the water meter and low flow capability. They selected Metron because they wanted to package the data resolution with the lowest flows and accuracies available. So as you can see here, what makes this partnership so powerful is Metron's continued accuracy and ability to detect water usage at the lowest of flows, so that you can detect leaks like this, in conjunction with the 5-minute data resolution and 1-minute data resolution reporting. When you have a different type meter that maybe only be 50% accurate below a 1/4 gallon a minute, it limits the analytics and the reporting ability and complete control that you have over your system. So if you're not picking up every drop, you're only recuperating so much of that unaccounted for non-revenue water is the most common term. If we go into a, make it a little easier and more palatable for, the standard resident, here's how this equates, because now what we can do is we can start to put a dollar amount on that leak, right? So if we take our water and sewer rate and we say, oh, well, how bad could that 0.02 gallon a minute leak be? Well, we have two types of leaks. We have your standard leak, which is a consistent drip or trickle. That's right now currently accounting for 45% of this account's usage. And then an intermittent leak. The best way I can explain the intermittent leak is the old the jiggle the handle, right? So you have the toilet, you have the toilet flapper or the fluid master, and someone flushes the toilet. It sits, but it doesn't seat all the way, and so you'll hear it run for a little bit, and then it seats itself. And everybody, the story as old as time, is everybody with those leaks. When it does go through the meter, and then they get their bill, they say, "There's no way I could use this much water." So then the water department goes out there, you put the little blue dye pack in the tank, and you flush it, and you wait to see, and you say, well, nothing's coming through. But then as soon as the person leaves the house, that leak kicks up again and starts over again, and it's this constant revolving door of, I didn't use the water, yeah, but it was on the meter, so we need you to pay the bill. With this, it puts all that to rest, because now you can see exactly how water was used and when. And when we can put a dollar amount on that percentage of a leak and say, you know what, it's actually worth the $180 to have the plumber come in and fix it, as opposed to paying the extra, $2,500 per billing cycle, if I just let it keep going. It dives in deeper and will give you a more comprehensive leak analysis. So this gives us a day-by-day look at what this leak is causing this particular account. So, on May 3rd, it used up 10 cubic feet of this usage, 10.5. So as you can see, it's pretty steady. So that leak is consistent and it's not really changing. Whereas here, now it's started to change a little bit. Now it's gone from just a straight leak to an intermittent. So it starts to seat itself. It's dropped down a little bit, but it's still persistent. Again, these aren't things that the water department would have to look at every day. All those reports are there and they're accessible. You can get all those lists when, you can see, all right, how many people in town do I have with leaks? Or how many people in this billing section have leaks? How many high usage do we have? How many people, have unauthorized use or backflow? They can see all those reports, but at the end of the day, the goal is to put the people in charge themselves so that the water department can focus on what they do, and that's providing clean water and service to the town and not dealing with, constant phone calls and debates about water bills. The water budget app, what this does, this was actually born out of Long Beach, California, back in 2015 when we had those massive droughts. The city of Long Beach was actually looking to take this data and say, well, can we put a cap on people's usage so that if they go above a certain amount, we can put them into a second tier until we're out of this water ban. And so lo and behold, this is what came out of it, is the water budget. So what this does is it gives you, it gives consumers or the utility the ability to, give a goal, a benchmark of what the average household should use. So if we look up here, we have our cycle budget, our daily target. This can be configured to whatever either the residential user or the utility user would like to see and have it displayed. So if you have three people living in a home, 5 people living in a home, if you have a business, Hollingsworth and Vose, if they know when they're in production, they use X amount of water per day. This is where they should be at daily, given their production time. If they're, out of production, then they know that they should only be at X amount per day. This is just a tool and a tile that allows them to gauge that and monitor themselves so that they can fall within the confines of what usage should be. Do I still, have I lost anybody?
No.
Yeah, thank you. So, that's the whole point. You know, as it pertains to yearly and long term of the system, what you have the ability to do is you can compare historical years. So over time, with Metron's meter, right now we're the only meter currently in the American market that offers a 5-year warranty on the water meter itself. And that's not, it's not like a car, 5 years, 100,000 miles. That's 5 years. So if anything happens within that 5 years, if the accuracy drops down below, it gets jammed up, it's replaced. The nice part about all of the Metron meter brand is that they are all top-loaded water meters. I actually wish I had one. I should have brought one on my desk to show you. But what that means is once the water meter is installed, you don't have to take it. You don't have to take it out of line and out of line again when it needs to be serviced. You can simply remove the top section. Metron will send you a new top section. You place that one back in, turn the water back on, and then the customer maintains a consistent register read and billing read. So you're not resetting back to zero. You're not restarting the clock, and you're continuing on from there. So it saves you time and saves you money. One of the other nice features is that not only is it completely scalable, so there is no big upfront deployment cost or infrastructure cost, or FCC. There's no licensing or permits that need to be required in order to deploy the system. You can deploy it overnight, and you can do it as you see fit. So what we're doing right now in the city of Somerville, Mass, who also was a KP Mueller customer, is because of all the issues and hassles they've had with them. About 1.5 years ago, we started this program where, as one died, we were switching them over to the water scope. Now, with that being said, so that they didn't have to bore the cost of a brand new water meter and meter installation, if there was a meter that had just been put in, within the past 2 years that they didn't want to change, they just wanted to adapt the technology, that's what we're doing. So if it's an older meter, we're swapping it out and replacing it with a new meter and adapting it to the water scope. If it's a newer meter, what we're doing is we're simply swapping out the read device and implementing our register and technology and then putting it on the system. So it's scalable, but also gives you flexibility. So you're never married to one meter vendor. Obviously, with everything that I can show you, because as I know, every meter manufacturer, every meter rep is going to come in and tell you their water meter is the best. I'm just going to show you the graph and then let you choose for yourself, because we have the ability to show it to you instead of tell it to you. And that's kind of how we've gone about doing everything throughout New England for the past 10 years since we started distributing it. Is there any questions? Anything I've missed?
Yeah,
So, Mark, this Bill, if I could.
Yes.
Mark, this is Rick. So, Mark, this is not proprietary to Metron Finier. So you could use any brand meter with this particular system.
Correct. Yes, it is. So the technology itself is proprietary to Metron, but the ability to place it on anybody else's product is 100%. Yes, that's correct. You can use any meter. So, for example, you have Zeners that you've been putting in over the past few years that you probably don't want to bear that cost of taking one out that's just been in for a couple of months because you don't have MTUs available, but you still want to put it on the read technology. You'd be able to do that with our system.
Do we lose any functionality if you're on some other brand of meter?
When you say functionality, no.
These graphs and charts that are going to tell me that it's I'm using in the shower or something or whatever.
No, sir. So the way it works is the same way you're seeing this right now is the same way it's going to be displayed, whether it's Metron or Meter Brand X.
Okay.
Yep.
Mark, just curious, will the data be compatible with the Munis system? Have you found that other towns that do use the Munis system for their billing? Is this a match made in heaven, so to speak?
So it is. So actually, Bridgewater was a Munis system. did a full deployment. Haverhill uses Munis, and Somerville, who's in the middle of this, and actually they're the best example because that's kind of the way I tailored everything today. But what they're doing is exactly that, is a 1-for-1. So as one comes out, they put the new one on. Not only is the new meter or register on the new system, but it's also being directly interfaced with the billing. So that when you go to run the billing, you can run everything off the new system, and you're not piecing it together through the MCM, then to Munis, then to the water scope. It's going, what we're doing on the billing side, and actually Jeannie Angiulo, who is in charge of the billing over there, and said to feel free to call her and ask her, has said that it's actually saved her time, because now instead of doing multiple steps going through the MCM and then Munis, she's able to go input the new ID directly into Munis, hit 2 buttons, and everything is now married and exported and imported in their respective places.
So, Mark, from a budgetary standpoint, if say a 3/4-inch residential meter, Metron Fournier meter with the system, what are we talking per unit cost installed by our people? Just the budgetary thing.
Yeah, so you're looking at about $335 a unit, and now I know when you say, oh boy, you look at an MTU and you look at your meter cost, you have to remember that $335 covers the life of that meter. That covers, all of the updates, all of the support, all of the billing interface, all of the consumer platform and portal. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. So we have the majority of our customers, they do they pay for each unit up front and never worried about it. The reason we actually recommend doing it that way is because we're trying to get away from what everyone's been so used to, and that's called the annual bill and then the network creep. So in other words, over the first couple of years, your annual maintenance cost is this, but then if you want two-way, now you have to upgrade this. But if you want this handheld or read this or verify this, is another cost. We're trying to get rid of all the hidden fees and give you what your upfront cost is so that you can see the true payback on the system.
Yeah, given where our other system is going and the company that owns the system and operates the system, I think it's time for the town to migrate away. If we were just to use the existing meters that we have, like we just put in a Zenner yesterday, and we want to adapt it to this system, what would that cost be? So that's where it's still gonna be about $305 a register, and the reason being is because when you do the residential, when you do a meter and a register, it's a better package deal. If I break out the register, a lot of that cost is built into the technology and the associated fees with it. So you're looking at about $308 for just the register, or $305 for just the register. Okay, so you're retrofitting a Zenner meter with a Metron Fournier register? There's 2 different ways we can do it. We can either do it with the register or with a BNR, which is a remote. So it is it's an MTU, but it actually has the reading on it. So in other words, for any of your outside installs, we would be able to just splice it in. So in other words, we cut the existing Mueller MTU box off, and then we would gel cap the new Metron Fournier BNR. It would be put in place of where that existing MTU was. The only difference would be is that if somebody from the water department or if a resident wanted to get a reading off that without having to go to their basement, they would be able to flip the lid and see the reading right there on the side of their house, as well as on the actual app itself. Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Patrick?
just a couple of things. How much money are we going to save by using this particular system?
So in terms of just general overall operating costs, I can send over the ROI that we're putting together for what the town of Walpole would be. But just to give you an example, in Bridgewater, where we did just the commercial meter program using this, it was estimated to be an additional $1 million a year. They actually ended up recapturing $3.5 million in the first year of non-revenue water that ended up paying for the residential deployment
which was $4 million for furnish, or 3.6 for furnish and install. And it was covered all by that just off the commercial meter program. What they've done since is that they've been gaining an average in revenue of over $500,000 a year.
Were they on the Mueller system as well?
No, they were not. They were on a census system prior to switching over.
Okay.
You're using a cellular radio in each one of these systems, is that correct?
So there is the same Verizon boards that are in your cell phone are what are in each register themselves.
Okay,
so
there's a bill on every one of those phones.
No, and that's the most important thing that I cannot stress that enough.
Are they linked together as a their individual system?
So what the way it was worked out is before anything went to market, the biggest thing here was that you couldn't go. In other words, if I were to go to say a Boston Water and Sewer, tell them they were going to have to pay 100,000 phone bills every month. No one wants to do that. So while it leverages the existing cellular network and infrastructure to send and receive reads, all of those costs and transmitting costs were all worked out up front between Metron Farnier and Verizon, so that you never have any reoccurring costs. That's why when I say that 335, that's it. There is no I'm not going to come back and say there's a software maintenance agreement, a software license agreement. There's no monthly cell phone cost or fee. That is the cost. Is the cost is the cost.
And Verizon essentially has said we'll allow, in our case, 8,000 meters, sending information to you, and the cost is all covered somehow, but it's not.
Exactly.
It's not a yearly cost. It's a one-time cost. They agree they'll handle that traffic.
Correct. That's exactly correct. And what's important to note here is, when we think cell phones, right, we think, where text messages, sending pictures, making a phone call, that uses a considerable amount more of data than what we're doing. What we're doing is we're sending, though it seems high, 32,000 data points. When it goes over the airways, it's less data than a text message that we're actually sending through each one of these. And it's only turning on and communicating with the cellular network for no more than 30 to 60 seconds.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One last question. Once we put all this, if we were to put all this infrastructure in, because this is a whole lot of information to intake today, will this infrastructure, should we propose and we buy it, can this be used by other utilities? In other words, can we allow, let's say, the electric company, the gas company, to connect onto this system so we can ameliorate the costs?
So I want to make sure I'm understanding your question clearly, but in other words, if the town purchased the system and if they wanted to, if you wanted to like sub-license the consumer portal to said companies for a fee that would go back to the Walpole Water and Sewer?
That's correct.
I would have to double check with Metron Farnier directly, but as far as I know, there's nothing stopping the town from adding an associated cost. What I can tell you is that some of the utilities that we have worked with in terms of to deploy the system more rapidly and cover the higher upfront cost is they have attached a small usage fee or meter fee based upon the size of the water meter that would go on and be annual with the bill. So in other words, I know the town of Norwood does this. If you have a 4-inch meter, then every bill pay period, I believe it's something like $150 that you pay to have that size meter. So what they try to do is try to help offset and finance some of the initial upfront costs on the commercial users as opposed to putting on the residents.
Thank you.
Yep.
And just to chime in, Patrick, and then kind of answer some of your question as well. One thing that I think everyone can kind of gather from this presentation is that Metron Farnier has really tried to build a very universal product. They've tried to make things very easy, whether it's being able to retrofit their registers onto a different meter body, or whether it's trying to be able to interface with any utilities billing system. They're trying to make it as easy as possible. And to just get back to your point about other utilities, especially as the town is probably looking to the future and what might happen 10 years down the road, what we can report now is that Metron is currently working with gas utilities to try to bring gas onto the same platform. Ideally, what the goal, I believe, for Metron will essentially be able to have all your utilities on this single platform, meaning that you, not just the utility, but also the residents can log in and see their electric, their gas, and their water under one umbrella. And so I know right now they're working and they're very close to interfacing and having a gas solution. And then from there, we'd be going electric. So it's electric right now, but that's something we're working on down the road.
Yeah, so electric is currently available. We personally have yet to deploy any of the systems here in Massachusetts, as the electric we just released it about 6 months ago in conjunction with the 1 minute data. But the water scope and the cellular has now been out for 10 years this year.
Okay, anything else, Patrick?
Just from hearing what I just heard, if we're gonna, the infrastructure we're buying, if we buy it, we'll be able to handle the other utilities. So we'll be able to use those other utilities. We're renting it out, in effect, to the other utilities. Is that possible?
Again, I don't want to speak out of school because I can't for certain say that. What I can say though is that we do have some private accounts. So, for example, like Harvard, MIT, and some other like Corcoran Management, who just built a building there on West Street. They've actually started to utilize our technology, and they're beginning to do something similar to that with residents, but not in terms of like an actual sub-licensing agreement. So let me just double check. Let me double check back with Metron, and I can most certainly get back to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Mark, who would the actual contract be with between the town and who?
In terms of the actual, so it would be direct with Metron Farnier and Mass Installation.
Okay, thank you.
John Hassenjäger, questions or do you have any questions?
The obvious, you mentioned the example of the sprinklers, where then they could shut the sprinklers off immediately, which infers that the next step is a mechanism whereby you can have remote control of actually the water service either operating or not operating. Has that evolved or is that planned?
So we do currently offer them. What I will tell you, I'll be very upfront with you, it's substantially more expensive. It's made more for a habitual abuser of the water system, or someone who's been caught several times. To do an 8,000 point deployment with automated shutoff valves in there, is going to be substantially more expensive.
Yeah, well, that's where people go crazy. That's the next step. They're going to let you know when you can go to the toilet, how much water you can use. They're going to shut you off.
Yeah, John, I don't think we want to get into shutting people's water off remotely. I
know that. I don't want any control.
As an emergency control type thing. Where somebody's not home, then you can shut it off for them. But just to shut somebody's water off because they're violating a policy, not good practice.
I agree with Rick. Absolutely.
Anything else, John?
No, I would just say it's a lot of information. I don't know how much of it we should or need to know.
All right, Glenn.
I was just wondering if any other communities have done any sort of a phase-in, or is it all or nothing, or do you see like let's try this section of town first and phase it in?
So we've done it all three of the ways you just mentioned. So with Bridgewater, it was broken up into a commercial and then residential contract. With other utilities, it's been just one full swoop, where they just go, it goes out to RFP and the town makes a selection. But what we're doing with Somerville right now is actually why I mentioned them, is because I think that would probably be the best way to implement it within the town of Walpole, is kind of do a 1-for-1, so that you can test the system, pilot the system, have everyone in the office get used to a new system. Because one of the things with doing a complete deployment is, is everyone has to learn a new technology right away, right? And it's not by choice. So it can become a lot more stressful, a lot more contentious. Whereas if you do it the way we're currently doing it in Somerville, it gives everyone a chance to go on, manipulate the data, look at everything without hurting anything. And then, as you go on and you continue to grow, you're more well-versed that if you do a larger deployment or end up finishing out the town, everybody who's going to be involved in that project already knows exactly what to expect and how to operate it.
Sure. So when you say do a pilot program, you say 1-for-1, you literally mean you try a couple dozen, and kind of ease in, or is that what you're saying? Just very, very slow?
So there's a couple of options. One, you could retrofit or do the commercial meters to see, to see the technology, where the commercial meters are historically known as your cash registers.
We don't have as many of those.
And in your situation, what I'm recommending is on where there's an issue with Mueller and getting product and getting support, is instead of continuing to fight that battle and kind of bang your head against the wall trying to fix a problem that doesn't seem to be able to be fixed, is as one of these MTUs dies, is you can replace it with one of ours and adapt it to the system, so that as one's dying, you're putting it on a system that you'll have availability of support. Right now, we deliver either same day or next day all of our product. We're actually expanding our warehouse, and we just re-upped our distribution contract through 2045. So we're here and available. You'll be able to get it in terms of support or service. Our office is in Norwood, so we'd be able to take care of any of that for you. So that's why I think the best way for the town of Walpole to approach it would be a combination of, smattering of the commercial accounts that are your cash registers, and then a 1-for-1, whereas a Mueller MTU dies, you can replace it with one of ours.
Okay, and there'd be no obligation, so there would be no initial contract with the pilot program then?
No, no. It's 1-for-1. So you can buy 5 and say, hey, these are great, but no, thank you. Or you can buy all.
What would our commitment be to this system? So if we were easing into it, is there just buy it as you go, or is there a contract that?
No, correct. So like I said, that the reason our upfront unit cost for the residential meter is a little more expensive than just a water meter and MTU, is because all of those software license agreements and secondary agreements and contracts that historically utilities are used to having to be bound by are no longer. So the thing is, if you just buy 5 of these, well, you're going to have that network and that battery and that warranty for the life of the system. If you never buy another one again, you'll just be on that 5. The commitment is as much as you want it to be, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I got you. Thanks, Mark. Bernie, a quick question for you. Do you know if we have any existing contract with Mueller that we're tied into at this point?
We do have a service contract for them that we provide them every year.
Is it an annual?
It's an annual fee for them for network support and such.
So we're tied in for a year, basically, at a time.
No, we're not. We're not tied to anything with Mueller.
Right.
Okay.
We pay them annually for the support.
Gotcha.
We pay them for doing nothing, basically, because they're terrible. Mark, just one quick thing on ease of installation for our people. Is it something that our technicians could do?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of different ways we could do that. What I suggest, just in terms of like a tracking standpoint and a work order standpoint, is we do provide and can provide an electronic work order that can be downloaded either on a tablet or a phone. But what that allows is so every register now is essentially going to be that water meter cell phone.
So it's absolutely critical that number be, barcoded and captured at the time of installation, so that it can be married back into the systems, so that you don't have, what's deemed as an orphan account. That would be my only suggestion. And what we do is both Brian and I would be able to set up days of training to come out and go through all the procedures of how to deploy it. But it's, it's very simple. It's actually, it's easier than the KPMTUs.
Mark, you mentioned three towns that you mentioned: Somerville, Haverhill, and Bridgewater. Are there any other communities that have operated this in the Rhode Island, Massachusetts area?
Yep. So Cambridge, who actually had gone out for an MTU contract to start replacing Clarity units, is currently starting to implement this on all their commercial water meters. The city of Beverly has been doing what Somerville has been doing now for about 4 years, where they're doing it all in-house. So as they have their existing system dying, they are replacing them with these units. They now currently have over a few thousand of them on there, and are getting ready to do a complete, cleanup and deployment of the rest of the system. The city of Springfield is actually getting ready to finish up the 46,000 accounts that they have on the system. And we're also working with Everett right now as well to do the same exact thing. And Marlboro did all their commercials. They were one of the first deployments a few years ago as well.
Maybe you could give contact names of Marlboro and a couple of those towns to Bernie. So if we want to talk to them individually, just to see what their experiences are.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the gentlemen that I would urge you to speak with is Larry Griffin, who's the director of Springfield Water and Sewer. And the reason I say Larry Griffin is because when cellular first came out and they were first looking at different systems, he bought 100 of the Badger Beacon units. He bought 100 of the Metron units, and he also he piloted all the systems. And he's been doing it. He started doing this extensively about 5 or 6 years ago, I want to say. And what he did is he looked at all the platforms, he looked at all the portals, he looked at all the data, and I'm actually very happy to report that at the end of the road here, the 46,000 that are going in are going to be Metron units.
Thanks.
Mark, I just have a couple of questions. This sounds like there's an awful lot of data that's being held somewhere. I mean, certainly if you're able to tell somebody that, wait a minute, this is your third water violation, that information must be being held outside of Munis, I would think. Is that the case?
Absolutely. So all the data is stored on the Microsoft Azure cloud. That's the same cloud that the Department of Defense and Boeing use, as many as dozens of others. But everything is in an ISO 27001 secured facility, and all your data is triple redundant. Again, we're not dealing with people's social security numbers. The data that's going to be exchanged from Munis to WaterScope is going to be an account number, a water meter serial number, and then an address. An address if desired. So everything is encrypted, everything is triple redundant, everything is secure. But we're also not dealing with we're not going to be dealing with the most sensitive of data.
Okay, in terms of getting the information up to the cloud, is there a way to upload information from Munis, and some of the information we don't have everybody's text number, cell phone number or telephone number. We capture those as we need. How is that information gotten? Is that entered directly into your system, or is there some, here's all the information we have from Munis, we've selected 5, 6 entries, it can just be uploaded at once, or how does that work?
No, that's a good question, and I should have expounded on that a little more in terms of the actual deployment. So part of that training, and the reason I recommend that electronic work order I was talking about earlier, is because what we do is at the time of installation is we give residents or commercial businesses an opt-in form where it gives them an overview about the network that's being deployed. and says that if you'd like, we can set you up on the consumer portal the same day that we're installing the water meter. And if they want to opt in, they just have to provide us with a cell phone number and an email address and their name, so that we can issue them, a their own license or account, so to speak, through WaterScope.
What Rick's talking about is that we'd be doing the installation as opposed to you.
Right.
I have a question for Mary.
No, I have a question on that also.
All right, well, that and just having seen the application, is the equivalent of the office staff, did they end up becoming tech support for people who say, I got this screen, I don't know where to go on this or that or whatever, and that's why I'm asking Mary, because I know who'll get all the calls. It won't be to commissioners, it'll be to Mary and her staff.
Nope. So I have a gentleman, Jake Riggs, who is tech support direct for Metron Farnier out of Boulder, Colorado, who covers all of our area directly. What I can tell you is he is the guy who, 77,000 of the Bridgewater residents that signed on and might have had a question about their initial time logging in, they either called them or they called right here directly at Mass Installation. There's three of us in house that field calls from all utilities and initial users, where we also do deployments outside of just utilities. We do a lot of work in the private sector as well. So in terms of tech support, it does not fall back on the utility. It's a combination between Metron Farnier directly and Mass Installation.
Okay. And Mary, did you have a question?
I did. Mark, I just have a question about those opt-in forms. Can you just, as far as managing those, is that something, we're going to be doing here in the office, keeping track of who's opting into the app, who's not? Can you just talk a little more about that?
So there's a couple of different ways that we could do that. What the city of Beverly is doing right now is where they have their field techs deploying the actual system. They're utilizing our work orders and our office to do the actual opt-in and all the correspondence with the individual account setups. So what would happen is at the time of installation, Walpole Water Department field personnel would go out, gather all that data. It would all be captured through a work order management system, which is also cloud-based, that I would have a login, a username and login to, you would have a username and login to, and at the end of the day, we would be able to take all of those that have opted in and push those directly through the WaterScope and T2 support, so that they could send out those username and logins and passwords, so that people would be able to get on the WaterScope immediately. In other words, it can be one of those things where you don't have to touch it at all. It can all be run directly through us and Metron, or if the town wanted to, obviously they could take hold of that in-house. We can do the training of how we've done it and deployed it and what's been successful. But obviously, if you had a way you want to do it, you'd be able to do it that way. I'm sure that from just a day-to-day standpoint, it is a lot easier if we do it, just because all of our work order management systems have been geared and custom to the whole deployment of this system.
Now, is there a cost that when you're doing this work, instead of having Mary's people do the work?
Yep. So if you did want to do that, that would be an administrative rate. Yes.
Okay.
It would be a monthly fee, and what I can do is, if that's something the town is interested in, I can send over what the costs would be and what would be associated based upon how much you want Mass Installation to do, or how little you want us to do, down to just if you want to just use our mobile work order system, we could do it that way as well.
All right. Well, I think that it might be worthwhile to at least know what that cost is, because I know that Mary's people are busy as it is. You said that it could identify that it was a toilet that was being used or a shower. Is that based on IBM's Watson saying, I know I can tell how many gallons per minute are being used. That's typically a toilet, or that's typically a shower. Is that how it's done?
So what's happened is, over the time span after the deployment of the initial 5-minute resolution, they've been taking all the cut sheets of all major appliances, fixtures, faucets, everything. So from, you know, the older fixtures that had no regulations to the new greener fixtures, and they've just been cataloging those. And so that's what this is. This is a product of, you know, mass cataloging and artificial intelligence being able to recognize that algorithm and report it. You know, one of the very cool things is during quarantine, this was actually the only nice thing to come out of that whole debacle was the fact that when they released it in beta testing, it was given to all of the national distributors and sales reps to install and put. And what our job was to break it, essentially. So we were asked to go run a sink, run a faucet, run the dishwasher, run this. And, you know, at the beginning, and it was at about 85% accuracy, or being able to correctly hit what the actual fixture use was. Right now, we're at about like between 98.9 as the last sales meter, 99%. Boyd, you can correct me if I speak out of school, but I believe it's like 98.9% accurate at being able to tell the exact fixture or item that was using that water.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. Anyone else have last questions? Bernie?
I do, Bill. I just have one quick, Mark. So am I to understand that pretty much basically we can keep the newer Zener meters in and just retrofit the top of the meter and then hook it onto your MTU? Is that correct?
So we can do it either way. We can either retrofit the register itself and replace the water meter register, or we can just cut the existing MTU off and put on a BN remote.
So it'll do
like
the
an MTU.
same thing, just like if I was going to just go out and change an MTU, I can just, instead of changing that MTU out with what I'm using right now, which is Mueller, and but we could use the new Metron, and that'll be sufficient.
Correct.
All the bells and whistles.
So
Correct.
When we do a bill run for my sections of town, you would end up, the office would have to tell your system, send me the information because we're going to create a bill, and then send the KP system, send some information, you know, so we could completely bill for a, you know, area of town, a billing cycle.
So what we would do and what we have done is as you do the deployment, we set up each individual billing book within the system. So as we add endpoints, they're going into the correct billing books. So it's not a mass chaos. In other words, we do it so it's manageable. So say we took billing book 1, just for example, okay? And you had, say there's 100 accounts in billing book 1, and 75 were on the existing KP system or Mueller system, and the other 25 were now on the new WaterScope system. All of those WaterScope accounts where historically, and Mary, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but you go in, you export everything from, you know, you have to export everything from KP, from the MCM, verify that all of the reads. So in KP, you have multipliers. So different size meters have different multipliers. So she has to go in, she has to run that billing section, verify all the multipliers are right, and then import it into Munis so that she can export the bills. Correct?
Yes, I don't do the multiplier part though, Mark. I just import the information, so I don't do that part of it.
Okay. All right. So you save yourself a step as it is, which is great. What you would be doing here, so if those 75 accounts that were on the Mueller system, you would be doing that the way you always have, business as usual. But as each one of those new VN or WaterScope units were put in, those 25, it would be a simple export from WaterScope directly to Munis, because Munis is going to directly update the WaterScope once we do the interface. So in other words, as we pulled out, say, you know, say we switched out Siemens, right? Instead of going and putting it through the MCM, you would input it directly into Munis, which is going to push and marry all that data through the interface and API file into WaterScope. So when you want to go run that bill, you can run the bill. You know, you can do the billing whenever you want. Essentially, you could bill them daily if you wanted to. But to keep things simple, you would just match up the date that you want to start and end, read date, and then hit export, and that's going to generate your bill right through Munis.
So is there a flow of information from Munis to your system, this water scope, or is it just one way? It's going into Munis, and Munis doesn't know where it came from, doesn't care. It does its thing with whether it came from.
Correct. Correct. So the only pieces of information that when you do the interface that Munis and WaterScope care about communicating with each other is going to be your account number, your water meter. Actually, the most basic ones are what's most important. So if you have just the account number and the water meter serial ID, that's all you need essentially to run a billing. The consumer name and the address, that's all going to be driven through Munis, which is the software that issues the bills. In order to actually fully operate the system, you really only need those two pieces of data.
Okay. Any other questions? Bernie, Rick?
I'm good.
Rick, you good?
Yeah, I'm good, Bill. Thank you.
All right. Anyone
Thank you, Mark.
else have any last questions?
No, we're gonna get some phone numbers and names for those towns, right?
Yes, we will send those over
Thank you.
shortly.
Okay, send it to Bernie.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, unless there's any other last minute questions, I want to thank you, Mark, for presenting a lot of information.
Yes,
and,
thank you.
Some thinking that we'll have to do on our end.
Yeah, I do know. There's definitely a lot of information, especially trying to fit it in with the confines of that time. So if there's anything I've missed, if anybody has questions, like I said, I'm available. I'm happy to do it. Again, if somebody wants just an individual presentation or has more questions, let me know, and we're happy to accommodate.
Very good then. Well, thank you very much then.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. That is all that we had on our agenda. We don't have, pardon me, John?
Yeah, I just would like to make a minor apology. On Patrick's motion, the reason I voted no, I didn't like the semantics. I perceive Bernie to be our superintendent. So I think something was said that we'll have to have Bernie check with administration and see what they can let us do. And I don't think, I just think the language was wrong. I don't fault anybody. And maybe I was a little bit sensitive about that. I know that Bernie knows what we want, and he'll get a personnel solution that should cover the intent of the commission, which I believe was to accommodate Mr. Orlando and his associates.
Okay.
So I just would apologize for maybe getting a little bit, I didn't have to vote no on that. I was just kind of making probably a bad point about, I don't know what you'd call it, authority, lines of authority, apparently, I guess.
Okay. All right. It's too bad we don't have John Spillane here. We're
Move
stuck.
the question.
I can't get out of this.
Move the question.
I'll make a motion to
Do we
All right.
adjourn?
All right, we
Motion
got a
to
motion by Glenn, a second by, was it Patrick, I think?
Sure.
All right, all those in favor. John?
Aye.
Glenn?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
And Bill? Aye. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay well, everyone.
All right, bye.